Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM19 story, part of the furniture with me, Daniel. It's season 14, episode 2, and today we play our first game of the Premier League season, this time away against Wolves, as we get to see a few of our new signings in action for the first time and get a reunion with David Crawford. I presume he's still at Wolves, we haven't gone and checked yet, so I suppose we better go and do that before we start promising things. He is still at the club, worth £14 million now at 26 years of age. His natural fitness has popped up a little bit and he seems to be doing quite well for them. He's certainly not scored at the same rate as he did for us, but he's still become a very good pro. But firstly, before we get into it, if you did miss the last episode, which was of course the big summer transfer special, do go back and check it out. It had a new record transfer signing, loads of outs including a few surprises, lots more loans than we'd usually have, and quite a few big decisions. We also had off the pitch news relating to the stadium, a new affiliate club, and a few other little bits as well. We're going to continue with a few bits we couldn't quite squeeze into that episode before we start the match today. So the one that's been requested by a few people has always been the staffing. We've had the same three main men in situ for a while here now, so we've not often seen their profiles. We saw them when they first joined the club, but now it's been some time since. So we're obviously talking about our director of football, head of youth development and assistant manager. So let's go and look at the director of football, Slavisa Jokanovic, a recognisable name for British football fans. He's got a fairly determined personality at 62 years of age now, and he's really solid across the board, and he's got a bit of knowledge of Serbia as well. So we've got no complaints about him. He's got a relatively low reputation, but he's good enough for the job, and he's always done very well for us. In terms of assistant manager is still Stuart Jelin. We mention his name in nearly every episode. If we go and look at his profile, he is very good. A little bit younger at 57. The assistant manager of Japan nonetheless. A role it says he's held for 17 years. That's some dedication and loyalty that. He's got a 3-star reputation and a Continental Pro licence. He's a decent coach as well as being brilliant mentally, and I'm really delighted that he's here. He made a big difference after he joined the club. And then third is the one that a few people have asked to see, Warren Hawke, our head of youth development. Not particularly good in terms of attributes, hasn't got a big reputation, but has a completely professional personality and has always delivered on the big occasion. I know we had a disappointing youth intake last year, but don't forget before that we've had the likes of Richard Quirk come through, Fibber Asima, Ray Prober, some real absolute stars. The Richard Quirk transfer saga obviously featured in the last episode, and Warren Hawke's the man responsible for his career, so he certainly deserves plenty of praise. But today's all about the first day of the Premier League season. We've not changed our tactic or anything as it was quite a frustrating summer, but we've got to look at our team for today as there's a couple of new signings in there. A few of the stalwarts have to drop down to the bench, though of course nothing's set in stone just yet. We're just going for our preferred first 11 when available. But if we go back to the home screen, you can see that we've got a little bit of team news, a couple of injuries in central midfield, one to a new signing and one to Dimitri Lapin, who was obviously our highest performer last year in terms of average rating. So we've only got the two options in that position, and we've got a pretty tough start to the season. Once we played these first two games against Wolves and Burnley, we then faced Tottenham, City and Everton. All of them were up in the top 8 last year, Tottenham finishing just behind us but nicking the place in Europe after winning the FA Cup, and then City and Everton were both in the top 6, with City being crowned champions. The one really bit of positive news I wanted to take you to before the season, because we had been sharing so much frustration about the transfer window, injuries, a slightly reduced stadium capacity due to upgrades, is Gerben Bacanes, who had that big long injury last year. He's really starting to improve off the pitch. He's made his debut for Holland, and I think he's going to become a superstar now. We've just got to stop him being unhappy after we rejected his deal to go to Chelsea in the summer. But let's go and get into the game. You can see from the dynamics everything's pretty good, and it should be in truth because we haven't changed a great deal. Most of the players going out were not ones involved in the first 11 or even the first 18 most weeks, and then a few of the ones coming in are familiar names from before, or they're just little additions to the squad rather than a massive overhaul. It's City v Arsenal and Burnley v Newcastle. We're obviously waiting to see if Fabian Palacios plays for Burnley, but we're all worried about our game, so let's go and get into Wolves v Torquay. Though an interesting interesting TV selection there. Burnley v Newcastle's the 4 o'clock game, and that's going to be shown on TV, while Man City v Arsenal isn't. Not quite sure what's happened there, but we're not going to worry about that for now. Wolves are the very slight favourites for this game. They've got no injury problems at all, and with no concerns they'll be slight favourites, as we're missing a couple of key players. Let's get rid of the unavailable ones from the screen so you can see where we stand at the moment. We've got Badger in goal, who we obviously signed in January, a real star for the club moving forward. Richard Quirk, the record signing at right back, with Lonergan Irwin at left back, and then Recchio and Bedger at centre half. Backenez in the holding role. We're playing him despite the fact he's unhappy. I think he'll snap out of it pretty soon, as Chelsea no longer want him and the transfer window's shut. We've got Hayes and Omar in the middle of midfield, the only two players available at the moment. Hayes is probably going to be fourth choice this year, despite the fact he's a decent Premier League player, so he's just going to have to accept that fact for now, but he is going to get a chance to impress today. We've got Kozil and Air on the wings, the biggest frustration that we couldn't improve that position, as well as centre half of course, and then Julian up front, the new loan signing from Manchester City, the second top scorer in the league last year after Lee Rutherford, but started just over half the amount of games. He is an absolute superstar, and I can't wait to see what he does today. He's been scoring goals for Real Madrid and Man City, so I'm sure he'll be able to do it here. Lee Rutherford's on the bench as we need him, as are the likes of Vladimir and Gonzalez, and a few defensive options too, but we're a little bit hamstrung by those midfield injuries, so I hope it won't cost us the game. But let's get into the first day of the season. I hope you're ready for another season-long ride of ups and downs. If you are, please put a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to the channel for daily FM19 content. We've got two stories really coming towards dramatic stages, and I think this one could be the big season as we try and make it into Europe for the first time. It was a bit of disappointment at the very end last year. Hopefully this time we won't miss out. Let's get into the game and see if we can start with a bang. It's a 4-4-2 for Wolves, a bit of an unusual formation at this level. Unfortunately, David Crawford doesn't start. He's just on the bench today, as is Suzuki. We had him on loan for half a year. He ended up going back because he wasn't happy, but he did make an appearance or two for us. So it's another reunion, and we're happy to see him, as he didn't do anything wrong for us. He was brilliant in terms of mentoring off the pitch, so there are plenty of positives from his time here. But a 4-4-2 is slightly unusual. Cantu's a player we recognise up front. He's scored plenty of goals against us in the past, so that's something we've got to try and stop today. They've got 6 new signings up there. That's going to be a bit interesting. Are they going to take a little time to gel, and is this the perfect time to catch them out? For us, we've only got one new signing in Julian. Although Richard Quirk joined the club in the summer again permanently, he's obviously made hundreds of appearances here before, so that's absolutely fantastic. No need for him to gel at the club. There aren't even any new signings on the bench, so it's all very familiar, and hopefully that will be in our favour today. We're going to tell the lads to do it for the fans. Stuart Jelling's so often right with his team talk. Daniel Kozil's motivated, and the rest of the lads are keen as we go and get into the pre-match tunnel interview. We're slight favourites, but I don't know if it'll work out that way. The media don't seem to think so, but I think we've got a chance in this one. Again, we've changed kits into green. Doesn't really help because it still clashes with the yellow, or the gold as it is of Wolves. It looks like a yellow on the screen, and it doesn't make things any clearer. Why we're not playing in a third kit, I don't know, but with 5 minutes gone, Richard Quirk's got the first booking of the season, and it's still 0-0 with no shots on goal. We're back with Omar in the middle though, and he gets it wide to Richard Quirk. Into Julian, the striker, misses his first chance of the season. We'll forgive him because it was on his weaker right foot, but we don't want to see him miss too many of those. Omar's got the ball again to Recchio. We're seeing another highlight for Torquay here, as Omar finds the striker Julian. Brilliant run it is from him out to Hernan Air, but he's miscontrolled it and been forced wide. Into Quirk, it deflects into the box. Brilliant shot from Omar. First time snapshot. The defender didn't have time to react or block, and it went in straight through the keeper. A fantastic start to the season. A goal for Omar, an assist for Richard Quirk, the new signing making an impact, and the wonder kid doing his job. It's a throw on the left hand side, Lonergan Irwin to take it, all the way to Backenez and back to Lonergan Irwin again. At left back we're just keeping the ball, playing it around comfortably, and we've got good possession players in midfield. Omar and Backenez are brilliant playmakers, and we've got to take advantage of that. Can Palazzo's won it back for Wolves though, and now Holden on the right. Are we going to see the first attack from Wolves? We're not, as it's a brilliantly timed challenge by Recchio, and now we're bringing it out with Omar. He comes over halfway, but he loses possession quite easily. Richards in central midfield out to Larson. He's on the left wing for Wolves, and there's a couple in the box. One of them's Holden unmarked, but a brilliant flying save from Badger to his left to stop the ball going in the top corner. It's out for a corner kick, and Larson delivers the in-swinger. Badger heads away at the back post. It's bobbled back in. Quirk hacks it away, and the highlight ends. Wolves starting to get a foothold in the game, but the highlight ended at 1-0. And then as we come back, Omar delivers a corner into the box. Recchio with a free header at the back post, straight through the keeper again. If it's his debut, he's not having the best of games, though the match engine doesn't seem to blame him for either goal. We're 2-0 up with 5 minutes to the break, the perfect start to the Premier League season. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. I really think we look like a good side so far. It's half time then, it's a 2-0 lead, a fantastic first half performance. Yes, Wolves have had one more shot on target, but we've barely seen a highlight from them. Their stadium looked absolutely massive there. I've seen Molineux before, it wasn't that big, unless the in-game representation's wrong, or they've had an expansion since the game started. Obviously we're 14 years in now, so plenty of things could have happened. I'm sure most people wouldn't recognise Plainmoor if they were coming to look for the Torquay Stadium. We've now got a 22,000 seater, so it's not beyond reasonable doubt that Wolves would have had an expansion. Here's Tesla on the edge of the box. They've started the second half a bit better, Wolves, and we're going to have to be careful in defence. They've got time to get it wide again, but they've gone up to Cantu, the striker. Back into midfield, and Wolves just building up slowly here. We're holding a good shape, but it does look like they're looking for the right opportunity, as Holden gets it on the edge of the box, but his shot's really tame and it's straight at Badger. Really good football from Wolves, but it doesn't lead to a clear-cut chance. 10 minutes gone in the second half, and it remains 2-0 to Torquay. Just over an hour gone, it's time to start thinking about changes. There's a very clear difference in our team. Defensively, they've all got very high ratings. Omar in the middle's been sensational, as Badger makes a comfortable save to his right again. And then there's a couple of players in midfield and attack who really haven't performed too well today. Baccanes plays a 1-2 with the keeper, and Badger clears it long downfield. Mullin gets it wide, but Kozil intercepts. Into Omar, who's been absolutely brilliant so far, really dominated the game by the scruff of the neck, taking charge of it in central midfield. Julian shoots from 25 yards, forces a tip over the bar from the keeper. Wolves keeper's not had the best debut so far, but Julian's not got the goal yet either. Badger on the end of the corner, it's a free header in the end, but it's just over the bar from 3 or 4 yards. It remains 2-0 and we'll make some subs. 20 minutes left, let's see who we can bring on. We've just got a highlight in the meantime, and you know my superstition, I'll never make a change during a highlight. It's Larson on the left hand side. He's gone back to Richards. Richards has only got an option to go backwards, as David Crawford's now on the pitch. He finds Cantu and Holden. Edge of the box, not much pressure, rifles an effort in, but it's just wide at a post, and the highlight continues as I try to pause it to make a sub. I continue the superstition, we'll wait as long as it takes. Kozil plays a 1-2 with Lonergan Irwin, the left back. Into Omar, who goes for the through ball, headed away by Wolves at centre half though. A little bit easy to read that one, probably the first foot he's put wrong all game. Holden flicks on the long ball for Wolves, but it's fallen to Lonergan Irwin. He comfortably goes back to Badger, the keeper, who again has a rating above a 7. He's been a brilliant signing since January, and again he looks like he's going to take us to the top. One of the players I'm really looking to build around, as well as Richard Quirk, who we've obviously re-signed. Larson shoots on the edge of the box though, and he's just wide at a post, and as the highlight finally is about to end, we will go and make a couple of changes. So James Hayes hasn't had the best game, but we're not able to replace him. We don't really have central midfield options. Hernane's been average, so Alvaro Gonzalez will come on for him. Lee Rutherford on up front for Julian, a decent debut for him, but never really looked like scoring the goal. Lonergan Irwin's had an average game too, and we'll give it 5 more minutes, and then Lydio can come on for him. The young left back has really disappointed since signing last summer. We've managed to improve his personality, but nothing else has seemed to join along with it. Lonergan Irwin's up to a 7, but we will replace him with Lydio for 10. We could have brought on Talasise at right back, tried to prevent a red card, but I've got so much faith in him not to get sent off that I'm happy to leave him on the pitch. Watch those words come back to bite us, as Richards has a shot from 8 yards, but a brilliant block by the defender. Badger wasn't even needed. And then David Crawford, what are you doing, son? Goes with the most cynical foul on Omar you could ever see. Absolutely slices him out at halfway. David Crawford gets a yellow card, and I'm not too happy with that from one of my former players. I certainly didn't teach him that, so Wolves have obviously taught him a dirty trick. Alvaro Gonzalez has picked up a knock, but with 1 minute plus stoppage time to go, we're still 2-0 up and in in a dominant position. Wolves to take the corner, which Bacanes heads away. Mullin gets it back to Richards again. Out to Larson on the left-hand side. His shot's blocked and is cleared away. Back into the box, long no. The keeper's surely been fouled there. And it's David Crawford again. Absolutely awful from him. And he's lucky to still be on the pitch as Bacanes plays it to Omar in midfield. Why he's fouling the keeper when he's on a yellow card? It's a very risky move, but the referee's absolutely bottled it, so Kozzel has to continue with a throw-in. It's going to be taken on the left-hand side, and it's Lidio who's going to deliver it. He's got a good long throw on him, and it reaches the box. The keeper misses it for Wolves, but he's adjudged to have been fouled by Gonzalez. We'll forgive him as he picked up a little knock, but I'm not too happy to see that in truth. It's a 2-0 win as the full-time whistle goes. A fantastic first day of the season for Torquay, and a wonderful result which will put us in the top half, in a position we want to stay for the rest of the season. The stats for the match were pretty average, but Wolves just bombarded us with long balls and set pieces, and we dealt with them pretty comfortably. Badger and the centre-halves doing a great job. Richard Quirk had a brilliant second debut, or third debut if you include the loan spells, and Omar looks like he's going to be a superstar this year. We'll go and have a quick look at his profile before the episode ends. He was the star player on the pitch, still a wonder kid at 20 years of age, 4-star ability, 5-star potential, and as our team creeps up in terms of ability, so does Omar. He's been absolutely fantastic, and we've got nothing but praise for him. Richard Quirk got a first-minute booking. He was sensational though. A fantastic first game as a permanent player again for him, and then a couple of yellow cards later on. David Crawford really upset me for Wolves. I certainly didn't teach him any of those tricks. Alvaro Gonzalez picked up an injury. He's going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks as well, so we are starting to have some struggles in midfield. A few players out injured and unavailable, and it could really cost us when it matters as we play some of the top sides in the league. We'll go and praise Omar for his brilliant performance. He did absolutely everything right, created a number of quality chances and obviously scored a good goal. Hopefully he'll continue that throughout the season. One of our youngsters has gone out on loan. He's a player we signed on a free deal just before the deadline closed, and he's moved back over to Brazil for the season now, so I'm interested to see how he'll get on. Let's deal with the post-match press conference though. We never show you one of these at the start of the season, so it's nice to give you a bit of variety, to see the sort of ridiculous questions we get asked. Apparently we have a good unbeaten run over Wolves, something I wasn't even aware of, so I can honestly say it doesn't matter to me. I thought we were excellent and thoroughly deserved the win. I'm going to start with big praise for the team, and hopefully they'll keep it up. It was a great start for Omar's goal, not going for the second option this time. I'm sure Recchio does get a bit of stick as he never scores goals, and he's an outstanding footballer, Richard Quirk. We want to give the highest praise to one of our own. So obviously a brilliant start to the season after a bit of a frustrating transfer window, but as I said in the last episode, and it seems to have been proven so far, it's not quite as bad as it was made out to be. Yes, we haven't improved in certain positions, particularly at centre-half and on the wings where we'd have liked to, but we have still got a good young squad, and most of these players can still improve. If we go to the transfer screen, should we have someone available in January? We've got 50 million left in the transfer budget, although we will need to move a bit over to the wages, so probably 40 or 45 million, which was enough to get someone of Badger's quality last year. If we can do that as centre-half or on the wings, we'll be well on our way to being a top side. But I'm hopeful we can get in the top 7 again this year, even if it is most likely to be 7th place, and then hopefully we'll get a bit more luck in the FA Cup, and it won't be won by a side finishing below us. If we can make those two things happen, and the Carabao Cup's won by a big boy as well, then we would have our place in Europe next year. The other alternative is we win one of the cups, which would give us our first major trophy and take us into Europe too. So we've got plenty of options this season, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've got a squad that I enjoy managing, and I think quite a few of them could become special players. But let's go and have a look at the schedule quickly, see when we'll next be back for the following episode. We want to leave it a few games. I know we like to see the games against the top teams, but often they're the ones we lose, and we need to focus on the ones that are going to be teams in and around us. So Southampton away at the end of September, or Arsenal at home just before it, they're going to be two massive games, so we'll show you one of those on camera. Arsenal finished just above us in 6th place last year. Southampton were just below us in 9th or 10th, but only a few points away, and they're the media favourites to finish 7th this year, so we've got to keep a close eye on them. I'll be interested to see how they've reinvested the Richard Quirk money, or a bit like Southampton in real life in the last few years, have they not bothered spending it at all, and will they just start a slow decline now? So one of those two games will definitely be the next episode. We may well have a third round Carabao Cup tie then as well, depending on how we get on in the second round. We're obviously hoping for easier opposition, though we could be back in the bottom half of the league table too, with a few big games coming up. But if you did enjoy this episode and that fantastic start to the season, I know not everyone's played their first game yet, but let's just go and show you we're sitting in 5th place. If we could have that table at the end of the year, I'd be absolutely delighted. Although Watford finishing first, probably not the best as a Luton fan. But if you did enjoy this episode, please put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know down in the comments where you think we're going to finish this season. How do you think we got on in the transfer window? If you've caught up from the last 2 episodes, how do you think, having seen a few of the new boys in action and how much some of our current players have developed, how do you think we're going to get on? And do you think we'll finally get into Europe this year? And more importantly, do you think we can compete for one of the cups? Obviously, if we keep getting the amount of injuries we have so far, it's going to be a little bit difficult. But one good run and we could win one of the cups, and that'll solve the European problem at the same time. I'm really excited about the prospects of winning a big trophy at Torquay. Obviously we had the FA Cup final against Arsenal, something I really enjoyed as an occasion, even though we did get edged out in the end, and hopefully it will just be a matter of time, and in the last 2 or 3 months of this series will just be us getting a chance to compete for big honours. Subscribe to the channel for daily FM19 content from my 2 long-term stories, this one with Torquay United and my Journeyman series The Head Coach. We've just finished our first season abroad in that one. We were managing at Napoli in Italy, so do go back and check it out if you haven't seen it already, as it was quite a fun and different season. There's also 3 episodes a week from Cricket 19, the official game of the Ashes. We recently did an Ashes test playthrough which lasted for 3 or 4 weeks, and then yesterday we started our long-term career mode series, which will run on the channel for the next 12 to 18 months. That'll be every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday at midday, and then we'll also have weekly content from Snooker 19, my long-term career mode series in that one. We're trying to take Sean O'Sullivan to the top of the world rankings, and you can follow his progress every Friday at 4:30. But a massive thanks for watching this one and your continued support with the series. I really do appreciate it so much, and I hope to see you next time for another big game as we look to try and take Torquay into Europe.